This episode of Badass Agents Podcast is brought to you by Jason Smith team at Nova Home Loans. Jason, a Navy veteran, has been recognized as one of the top 100 loan originators in the country. There is no task too big or too small for the Jason Smith team. Every client counts. For the best rates and great service, contact Jason at 480-227-6231 or visit novahomeloans.com. I personally stand by his service, and so do thousands of satisfied clients. That's Jason Smith at Nova Home Loans, NMLS number 210839.
This is what it takes to keep it going. I can't stop this. Otherwise, I will go back. I will lose my vehicle again. I will have negative dollars in the bank account. I will show up to the house fighting and being questioned where groceries or money, all of that stuff that we are counted on. And I failed to deliver at a lot of times, too many times, to the point where I'd had enough.
All right. Welcome to Badass Agents Podcast. I am your host, AZ Araujo, and special thanks to AZ and Associates and Do the Work to bringing this to you free, live, and it's going to give you a lot of insights. I have a very special guest today that we're going to dive deep. We're going to dive deep into the game of life. You know, I think everyone's so concerned, especially in our industry as entrepreneurs, about building a business that we forget that there's the things outside the business that keeps us from actually growing and prospering long term. You know, I'm a firm believer that we can all get lucky, right, and have a good year. But can you maintain that for decades? And that's the game, and that's the foundation we always play on. And with that being said, I want to bring on our guest, Sergio. He's been a student. He's been leaning in to, you know, the foundational aspects of AZ and Associates and Do the Work about attacking all elements of life, you know, power, purpose, and profits. And being the man that, you know, our spouses want us to be, being the man that our community wants us to be, being the man that this world needs, you know, and continuing to enlighten others by living that prosperous life and being aware of the decisions we make every day. So with that being said, Mr. Sergio Argueta, how's it going, my brother?
Wonderful.
Dude,
I feel amazing, man.
I'm glad you're here, bro.
I feel honored to be here.
Dude, I can't believe, how long have you been now with AZ and Associates, dude?
So it'll be about 18 months, and I don't know if you remember this interaction in old HQ, but I was probably only 7 months in.
Yeah.
And, you know, you walk through the halls, you know, do what you do, see what's up, and you're like, hey, man, I'm going to have you on my Badass Agents podcast. And at the time, I was... Man, I haven't done nothing. You know, I haven't really shown all of myself. Yeah. And
you know what it was, Sergio, is that I think, you know, with me, it's never, our conversations never start with production. Is it a constant question? Yeah. But it's always above that, right? And I can, I'm always aware of like the energies that I'm seeing, the awareness. And one of the things that, you know, struck me about you was that you were very enlightened. But it seemed like you were alone in that enlightenment, right? Where it wasn't reinforced constantly. So it was constantly being dimmed by others, by situations, by, you know, outside forces, that it didn't really allow you to play at your level, right? Which is to get on the hill and shine bright. 100%. And, you know, we've had many, many conversations where it's just real deep. And that's the reason why I wanted to bring you here, because not everyone wants to learn about that $100 million producer. It's like $100 million. I can't even, you know, go home without arguing with my wife. What do you mean sell 100 million? Yeah, you know what that's going to create? Mm-hmm. And that's where we have to start. Is there a possibility of getting there? Absolutely. And that's great for those people that are ready for that step. But I think there's a vast majority of individuals that are getting stuck on the day-to-day, right?
1,000%. And I've fallen complete victim to that, like success bug, and how you see all these other people who appear to have it together because $100 million, $50 million, whatever the number is. But as I've been so fortunate in this business, starting my 6th year, you know, in real estate, in 2021, you start to see the facade, you start to see the posturing that individuals post up, and the song and dance to avoid what's behind the production, which is yourself, your family, which you have to go back home to, or not.
The void behind the production. I love how that sounds amazing and it's deep, right?
Yeah, and it was true, because I've fallen to that same poison, I suppose. Once you start to produce a little bit, you start to have these big cash injections that you never had before. You start to feel empowered. Unfortunately for me, it did. It can take you down a different route, different mindset, almost a bulldozing mentality.
Yes.
Instead of using it for its intended purpose, which now I see is you can use it for good, the excess money, the excess power that you can access. But I had to see the facade. I had to wear the mask myself in order to see that I didn't like what I was looking at in the mirror.
Dude, that's deep. And the stories that come behind it, right? It's like, well, I'm making the money, so it's okay not to keep my end of the bargain at home. It's okay to disappoint my kids. It's okay not to necessarily take care of ourselves physically, because I've been striving for this type of money for a while. Now I'm getting it. I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
So the story becomes now it's one or the other. And before you know it, it starts slowly going down this slope of not being where you wanted to be. Even with money, the situations change. Maybe it's not the constant struggle of finances and figure out a way to pay the bills.
Right.
Now it's the struggles around that.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is more intensified, because it really hits the core of our soul, because we know we have a responsibility to those outside that we're actually sacrificing. And we hear this all the time. I'm doing this for my family. But yet that is the very first thing we sacrifice.
1,000%. Victim to that as well. I don't want to call it victim, but I did make that choice. And it's, if you let it go on long enough, it will, I drove myself into, that dark pit we'd speak about of shame, embarrassment,
Guilt.
Yes. And, you can't produce much more outside in the world unless the foundation at home has those seals cracked, or those cracks filled rather. And the last 18 months that I've been here, that's been my biggest. That's why I came here. Was first of all, I watched you and Carla for 7 months, afraid behind a screen, like again thinking they have it together, they know what they're doing, they don't struggle, they don't want to talk to me, And then I suppose it was 2019 towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
I had a pretty decent year real estate wise. However, the way in which I was conducting business was not fulfilling at all. In fact, I felt like an employee because of the way I was working, because I had a partner at the time, and I didn't see the value in myself that I see now, because I didn't do shit. I haven't put any kind of work into myself and everything into business.
Yeah.
And everything else went to the wayside, and I had a pretty rad dad bod, and I didn't have a whole good relationship at home. So
it starts really personifying itself, right? Like the shortcomings start personifying themselves. Like you could visually see it in our faces, in our bodies, in our demeanor. Like we can pretend to a certain point to where it's visibly like seen. Like people can actually just feel you coming through the door of like, hey, I see what he's saying, but it's not in alignment with what I'm, actually seeing and hearing. But you mentioned a couple things. It's like, your business has significantly changed, and that's why I was so proud of the like what you've built, and you were proud of that more than anything. Was you actually had to break down and tear down, burn down the old style of business,
everything,
and then build something brand new. And that's hard to do, especially 5 years into the business. You're like, okay, finally I got my skill sets in this realm, but you found yourself chasing clients, almost like pleading and racing to the bottom, as opposed to seeing the value. And I love that you said that, the value within, right? And how did you get to that point where you started seeing the value within? I mean, it came through a process of like self-reflection and also speaking it out, right?
1000%. And I've always had this. I think one of my gifts in life is physical strength, and I've also been able to maintain a good amount of mental strength up until real life hits. You know, fatherhood, parenthood, family, all of that stuff, and it started with being fed up. You know, I read this book by David Goggins. You know him. Can't Hurt Me, and he talks about the accountability mirror and how if you can't look in the mirror every day, you know, when you wake up, before you're going to go to bed, at any time of the day, and be 100% satisfied with yourself, with what you're doing, then you got to get to work. So after that book, I just took that to heart the most, because I was able to reflect during that book, because I was able to relate with some of his stories about all of the things that have brought me to this point in life, you know, from childhood, teenage years, all the way up to today.
Yeah.
So,
you know, and it's funny because there are these defining moments that shape our personality, right? They say for the most part, our personalities are shaped by the time we're 7 years old, unless there's something like a defining moment or something tragic or something significant, which will alter and actually change radically your personality. And these defining moments happen to us often. And I think the problem is we think it's something against us, right? When a tragic moment happens, when a huge defeat or a huge failure, I think people are steps short of actually realizing how good it is for them, right? But before we get there, that defining moment, many of us can remember like specific defining moments. Can you go back to a point where you said, I'm fed? You used the word, I'm fed up, right? I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know, that's another saying that's mentioned often. Can you think back of that moment where you're like, something's got to change?
Yes. It was probably 3.5 years now. It actually happened because of a car repossession. And, you know, 3.5 years ago, you know, I was not fairly new, but I thought I had things together. I had closed a couple of deals, got a little complacent, stopped doing the work that took me to acquire that business. And the next 90 days I had goose eggs. I wasn't doing anything, and I just, you know, was thinking I could survive off of that money that I had those few deals off of. And then one morning, I'm up every morning with my children, getting them together for school, breakfast sometimes, and one day, one of my daughters walks outside and asks me where our van is. And I knew where it was. I knew that for the past 89 days, I was not doing what was necessary by being honest about, you know, where we're at financially, not speaking up about anything and being able to communicate that because of the lack of confidence in myself to my partner, knowing that, you know, she loves me unconditionally, but if I have to admit that I failed, what is that going to feel like? Mm-hmm. So instead, I allowed time to pass and procrastinate until my children had to witness it. And that was a huge wake-up call. I probably cried all of that day. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to sit here and lie. And within the next couple of days, I said, I'm done. Like, I need to go all in and stop teeter-tottering in this, stop having or thinking that there's some kind of backup plan and thinking that you can do a little bit at a time, take a break, and then try to restart it all again. There's no substitute for the work. There's just no substitute.
There really isn't. And as men, I think we have this genetic makeup that we're supposed to innately provide security and safety and stability in a home, right? Whether it's a proven scientific fact or not, I feel like it's in DNA. I mean, if you talk to most men, they want to be able to bring that, security, stability, and safety into a home. So when we fail there, it's demoralizing. Mm-hmm. but it's all on the back of what we failed to do. And that's the problem. I think many men don't even want to blame themselves. They want to blame the circumstances, their spouse, their job, their kids, the way they were brought up, or where they grew up, where they went to school, their parents. They want to blame all these things when in fact they're refusing to look at that accountability mirror like you brought up. And that's hard, to look at ourselves in the mirror and call ourselves out. Hey, you're lying. Mm-hmm. You put yourself here. Yeah. It is your responsibility. Yeah. And that's hard. It's almost like a habit we have to unwind and rebuild, because I'm a blamer by nature. And sometimes I catch myself going there right away as opposed to looking at my inadequacies, right? At my shortfalls. I'm constantly looking at Carla because she's the target's right there. I'm looking at the situation, or I'm looking whatever it may be. But so to try to unwind that, right? And rewire a new perspective, that's tough. And it takes years of being able to develop that. Just because you become aware doesn't mean it's a fact now.
Right.
The awareness leads to repetition. The repetition makes it fact. And I think that's the repetition is what stops most from actually living their best life, right? Yeah. And I feel like I'm still right in the middle of the repetitions, even though my life has significantly changed from what it was, radically.
Yeah.
I'm still a student of the game, right? Student of life. The game is life, right? And I'm a student of that, and it allows me to just see something greater and bigger for myself each and every time. Yeah. And but it stems from those defining moments. And I can tell that I could even say you telling the story,
shame.
I felt the shame.
Yeah, the shame, embarrassment, all of the feelings, man, just overtook me. And back to what you said about the man today not almost cowering when it comes to the hard stuff. I think about primitively how we're not hunting buffalo anymore, and I wonder if our ancestors, when they caught excess buffalo, if they wanted that pat on the back, or it stopped them from, okay, now I did my job, now I got to come take care of the kids and my wife and be the king and run my village or homestead, however it needs to be ran. And we've been so inundated with convenience these days that it's softened me. I wouldn't even have called myself a man a few years ago. Still a young boy trying to figure it out and not wanting to do the right thing. And I see it very prevalently in society today. And not that I have all of it figured out, because I don't, but I do know, like you said, through the middle of the reps, there's this knowing that you acquire of, this is what it takes to keep it going. I can't stop this. Otherwise, I will go back. I will lose my vehicle again. I will have negative dollars in the bank account. I will show up to the house fighting and being questioned where groceries or money, all of that stuff that we are counted on. And I failed to deliver at a lot of times, too many times, to the point where I'd had enough.
Yeah, that sucks. And it's a shame, right? Because I as you bring that up, I remember Carla just looking at me, and I even told you the story where just recently, like, when we were training for the Ironman, the triathlon, the second time, the 70.3, my body was getting beat up. First, I wasn't eating the right food, so now I know.
Now we know.
25 days into this 30-day challenge, now I know why my body was hurting so much, because I am putting a significant amount of stress on my body, but it's recovering so much quicker. Well, back then, I wasn't eating necessarily the right foods. So after a 13-mile run, I would eat whatever was in sight, and I still kept pretty lean, but I saw the fat kind of going around my belly. But I remember there was this one day where I come home and I shower and I go straight back to bed, and this was at 9:30 in the morning.
Right.
Carla walks in, and I saw the concern on her face, like, "Hey, are you okay?"
Yeah.
Well, because even though I haven't done this in many years, this was my pattern. When I would fail, when I would get overwhelmed by the lies that I was telling myself, that I'm not good enough, that look at this person's doing it much greater, I will never figure it out, I'm at a disadvantage, I don't have what it takes, I am not tech savvy, all these stories, once they started morphing, I would shut myself down. I was constantly like just chopping. I can imagine like a little miniature me chopping my legs from under me, little by little.
It's exactly what it does when you succumb to those stories that who knows how long they've been there in your mind. And for me, I know that, again, it's not blame, but it is those childhood stories or memories. Trauma, it can stick with you for a while unless you address it, heal it, and release it back out to turn into something great.
Yeah, and you know, our whole responsibility is to stop that and change the story, right? But when you're in that place and you're caught up, it becomes overwhelming because one story leads to the next. The next thing you know, you're piece of whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and she came in with a look of concern, and I'm like, oh no, babe, I'm just tired right now.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. She's like, okay.
Big
and this
sigh.
is a powerful woman still concerned about her man. Why? Because she knows a weak man is a weak household.
100%.
A weak man is a weak household. And I used to do that all the time. That was my reset button. That was my default. So when something would fail, when a deal would fall through, when I would lose money, I would shut down. And then Carla would come, hey, babe, come on, you can do this.
Pity party.
Pity. Yeah. And I've told this story many times before. And then one time I think she was fed up. She says, I don't care what we lost. I don't care where we're at. I don't care where we live. I don't care where we drive. I just care that you get up the next morning and try to figure this stuff out. And that meant a lot to me, because there is that pressure. Again, safety, security, stability. That's part of our, let's just say it's DNA. Yeah. Let's just hypothetically say, prove me wrong. If it isn't, I don't know. I think if we do where we ask 100 men, I think 99 would say yes, that is the case,
and women for that matter, because I think I've made a comment on one of the podcasts before that women. I believe this in
this is coming from a man's perspective.
From a man's perspective, I think that women are so much more intuitive than us. They have so much more connection than we do. However, they put so much reliance on us in their kings that they choose. And when a woman makes that decision, from my experience, from my life, like, they're all in. And like you said, so what? Who cares what happens? I just want you to keep trying. I want you to keep going because I rely on you for that. And again, I can remember specific times like you just shared now where I coward, 100%.
That sucks, man. I know. I hate to say that, but I think that's a realization. If your marriage is struggling, if you're not feeling, the fire, there's a lot you're leaving on the table, and the consequences get greater and bigger over time. The more you fail to start attacking those issues and those problems. So talk to us a little bit about how, walking through the doors of A's and Associates, how that started changing your perspective. You had a lot of this innately, obviously, right? I mean, I don't think people find the way here if they don't have it already naturally. It's not like a convincing job, Hey, 100%. You should. No, people already feel it. And I think this place is like a gathering, a tribe of individuals that want to succeed in all aspects of life. Yeah. I think there's plenty of places that it's all money focused. Cool. If that's what you want, awesome.
Right.
Our focus is in all things. We go after a much bigger buffalo.
100%.
Right? With legs.
The entire buffalo.
The entire buffalo. Not just the prime rib, like everything.
Yeah.
So describe to us how things started changing for you when you walked through the doors of A's and Associates less than 16, 18 months ago.
So, I was probably at 2 or 3 other brokerages beforehand and, for little stints of time. And I remember vividly being brand new into real estate. And I've always had, like you said, I came here with the fire in me to learn. I've always had that inside of me. To learn, to try to want to grow, to emulate what other successful people are doing, because success does leave those clues. And when I would reach out to those top producing agents at these other brokerages when starting out, they would shut me down, F no, get out of here, go do your own research kind of deal. And it's like, okay, I guess this is a cutthroat business. So So I think I became a little recluse at that point. And so I started trying to look at a different brokerage and then another one after that. But one commonality that I saw in all of these places was the lack of bodies that were inside of the building, in the building, you know, people collaborating or sharing or anything. And I enjoy that. I liked sharing with individuals. And again, it took me 7 months of watching, you know, Badass Agents podcast, watching, you know, all the other videos that you and Carla have put out there to finally not feel intimidated to come speak, because you know, I can't grow a beard like AZ. You know, it takes a while just to get this little thing. So I was like, damn, this is like, you know, he's speaking some truth, but it's only from experience and the transparency and the vulnerability it takes to share some of these things. I knew that it wasn't easy. And finally one day, again, just like, okay, you know what? I'm sick of I'm sick of just watching. I need to get this. I need to feel this. And I need to be able to speak the way that I know how to speak, and almost get permission for it, because I was so recluse and scared of what people would say or think about me. Who are you trying to be? Or what do you think you're doing? And now it's just, that's the furthest thought in my mind at this point. So just that ability to be able to speak openly, and then running across other agents that are doing incredible things. And I did know an agent here already, spoke to him and just like, you know, what are you waiting for? And I stopped waiting. So I finally, you know, booked that appointment with you, and, you know, here I am today, man. And I'm so grateful that I did my own research. I fueled that little mustard seed of greatness within me by associating with other individuals who want to do the same thing and are not looking to, you know, try to do this alone.
Yeah.
Be that lone wolf at the top instead of the, I call it the lion's den, you know, that's here, and everybody gets along, but everybody's a lion or a lioness. Yeah. And collaborates and does the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Does the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And I think we all have this sense of stewardship where we know it's a responsibility to help a fellow member, right? Because we understand the responsibility that comes from it. We also understand the consequences that come from that person not rising up, because we've all been in that situation where we fell short, and how it affected not only our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health, but it also affected our families. So when you go and ask one of our top producers, he's innately showing you, because he sees through seeing you as a competitor. He sees through that and seeing you like, if you rise up, it's a domino effect on everything else you will be able to help.
Right.
And everyone you will be able to help. And with that knowledge, him helping you get to the next level, he almost raises his standard of where he's going. Yeah. And it's a unique thing, and I think we all miss that. It's the community, the camaraderie, the ability to be real and raw and honest about what it is to be a human, 100%. Right? And I think many people decipher around that because it's too much. There's too many skeletons in their own closet that they don't want to expose. Yeah. But when you start speaking in realness and rawness, it really diminishes the control those stories have over us, right? Yes. All the shame that I had, you know, all the things and bad, decisions I made as a young man in my marriage, as a, an adult, in my business. It's like none of that holds me back anymore because I've cut all those anchors. Yeah. And when you're in an environment where the realness is always spoken, you start living a more fulfilled life because you're not carrying those anchors. You're not cloaking yourself in all these lies, you know. And it's an amazing feeling. And I've told you that you've been, and everyone that crosses my path. I feel it's a divine meeting. I feel like it's a divine relationship. It's a divine intervention of sorts, because there's value being brought to me as well. I'm learning. Yeah. Whether it's something that, adds to my life or it's something that I feel at the moment takes away from it, right? Every single person that has crossed through these doors have added value, whether it was the right way I saw it or the wrong way, but they were brought here for a reason. And I told you, I'm very grateful that you're here because you've added another layer of value to me. And it fires me up when I see you doing your things. I'm like, I got to keep moving. Yeah. I have not arrived by any means. I got to keep going. And as men, as women, I think that's the fire we need to feel on a consistent basis. Right. And when we look at our trends, when we look at the trends of growth, we got to be able to see where is it that I'm falling short. And that's usually a mental fatigue. Mm-hmm. That is an emotional fatigue that drops off our production. And it's like, why do we have to go through this roller coaster? Right. It's okay to feel good, right? That's a recent conversation that we had. It's like so many things are happening. You had a killer week last week, where you're doing in a couple days what used to take you months. Yeah. And it's like, hey, it's like I'm feeling good, but a little anxious, a little off, and it's like, this is a new standard, and it's okay to feel good most of the time. As opposed to me, when I was as I was growing up, I was like, okay, it's okay to feel good some of the time, right? But most of the time, there's going to be despair, there's going to be frustrations, there's going to be anger, there's going to be sadness, there's going to be this emotion, there's negativity. Then every once in a while, you get that little bit of icing, a little cherry. Yeah. But what if we always felt good, and every once in a while we have to go through that turmoil, short-term pain? And that's the mindset I think we all have to change. But this environment, man, like you mentioned, it fires me up. And I know there's a lot of agents out there, a lot of small business owners that are trying to run this all by themselves, and it is short-lived.
Yeah, you can't. You definitely can't. And again, even if the other agents around you are competition, there is always 1,000% an exchange here. Of energy, for time and time for energy, or, little tips and tricks that, how'd you get this offer accepted? How did you get that listing? How did you find this client? What would you do if this? And just everybody here is just so open to sharing. And I've been fortunate enough to have been asked by, brand new agents myself. And it's humbling because I remember the first interactions that I had, like I described, about being shut down and being, told to go figure it out myself. And that doesn't feel good. So I think I have a stewardship now as well to let every new agent know that, just keep going. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because there are going to be those, pinheads that just kind of brush you off or tell you to go figure it out on your own. Just keep asking somebody else, because somebody will at one point share what you need. Yeah. And I gathered that most from here, and to what you said, man, being realigned here, I'm as appreciative as you are, because there is always somebody hungrier, and there's always somebody that's coming after your lunch, and we do it in such a friendly, competitive way here that you just don't want to stop. You don't want to get left behind.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's funny because right before we started, I ran over to the bathroom and I see one of our top producers, Rudy. He's like, you got 2 minutes. So we got Rudy, right?
Hell yeah.
One of our top producers, top 1% in the state.
Love it.
Like, excited to watch a fellow member, tell his story.
I got a text from Rio yesterday from Jesse, and Rudy did say something as well, like, hey man, I'm really excited to watch this. And that as well is humbling, because those guys are doing it,
They're doing it.
And they also have been able to provide an example to emulate, and also share willingly everything that they're doing, because there is no secrets. You're not going to find some new marketing tactic or anything that's going to, you're going to create some brand new something that happens in real estate. It's a pretty cut and dry business, but the way in which we do it, you just have to set that standard for yourself high enough to around other people who are also setting it high enough to be able to do the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
I'm really grateful for all those guys.
No, those guys are there, and they're rooting for you.
Yes.
They're rooting for you, and I love that, because we're all rooting for you. That's what's bringing me great fulfillment in life, is seeing others, like, going through this process of the wake up and realizing the responsibility that they carry and rising up to that, not cowering and fighting, and we all have our breaking points, but it's being able to come back from that, and I absolutely love witnessing that. And I think every person here from from the ones that just started all the way up to our top producers, like they understand, they're beginning to understand and they comprehend again the responsibility that comes with rising, and it's not just financially, it's emotionally, mentally, as a father, as a husband, as a wife, as a mother. Like all these individuals are really rooting for you.
100%. I think that to what you just said, the financial piece for me, and I believe it's just with most men because of that primitive programming that we have to get the buffalo, that we just want to focus on the money, the result, the treat that we're going to get for doing what we're supposed to be doing anyway. And the other stuff is only hard because we've just over time have pulled so far away from that, with the kids and with the house and stuff. So that's just my experience that I've had.
And we can't come up short now. It's not, you can't brush it under the rug. You just can't. Society's evolved. Families have evolved, and the expectation is you got to be all things, But the last 18 months have been wild, man. You're a Ironman 70.3 completer, a finisher. So that means you had to put many hours, many miles on running, swimming, and cycling, man. Like, think about that journey, man. What an amazing journey, though.
I think about it every morning when we're in the gym because I'm a little more grateful that we're not just, but we're lifting weights instead of going out there and spending that time with yourself and those stories, man. Because that's the biggest thing I gathered from that Ironman training was capacity, and the ability to increase it by doing something that is going to force you to get past your current capacity, but you do have to force yourself to grow. It's not gonna just happen if you keep doing the same things. And I've never ran, cycled, so I thought I knew how to swim, but I sure the hell didn't. So I had to relearn all of that, and I May 20th, right, 2020, damn Memorial Day week. That Monday.
Wow, not even a year ago, bro.
Yeah, man, not even a year. And it just scared the shit out of me so bad that I was like, you know what? I asked for this. I aligned with individuals here that will do what is necessary to push themselves. I want a little bit of that too.
Yeah. And that's, that's the environment we have where we're constantly putting these challenges in front of us. And what I love about that is we always come out greater on the other side. It's not 100%. Like we get beat, like, come out smaller or with less life lessons, with less ability. It's like everything is magnified. Our capacity, our mindset, our awareness of what else can we do.
Right.
How did you feel crossing that finish line for your first 70.3, man? How was that?
But I teared up. I cried. And on the way home as well. I think that knowing what I know about the body physically and what I've been able to put myself through, I know that muscle memory. I know that our muscles and our bodies hold on to that trauma and things that happen in our lives. And for me, the reason for getting into it to train for this was to diminish all of the stories that were in my head prior to the competition, and all of the stories that I had to rewire and reprogram during the training. So crossing that finish line was confirmation that I can do all things. I can do anything if I put my mind to it, but more importantly, a relentless pursuit to achieve it, no matter how long it takes. Granted, we had a time frame and all of that, and luckily we, hired a coach and had a really good regiment from that aspect. Mm-hmm. But you still have to do what's required. You can't skip past an Ironman. You can't shortcut that at all.
No,
it will show up. And
what I love about that is we had 9 people sign up, 9 people completed it.
That was amazing.
It was, I mean, just the bonding that we got from that, the experience. Like this is something, a memory that we will carry on for 20, 30 years, you know, for the rest of our lives.
100%.
When we look back at the pictures, we're like, man, as we're 50, 60 years old, looking at that, that's what really like motivates me to document my life. And we take pictures every day now that we're going to get into it in just a second.
Sure.
With the 30-day challenge. But taking these pictures is so important to me. Because I want to appreciate that when I'm 60, 70 years old, I'd be like, oh my God, that's Sergio. I remember him. Look at Rio.
It'll make me get up and run or something. Damn, what am I doing here on the couch?
Exactly. And it just feels so good. And that's the importance of documenting, because these are good times. These are good times. And we have our youth, and it's something that I think we all have to be grateful for. We're so focused on what we don't have that we fail to see all the beauty we do have. Our youth, our vitality, our bodies. If it's not where it needs to be, we can shape it today, because there's going to be a point where we can't.
Yes.
And why are we destroying when we can? Destroying it when we can. But I got real said, this came from a Memorial Day conversation at the office, just randomly getting called out, and he rose to the challenge, and he has continued to rise. It's insane. He was like collateral damage, you know. He was just a byproduct of our madness. We just walk in. It was Memorial Day because you know, Rio planted that seed. I think the weekend before, and I was like, nah, you know, I'm not a triathlete. I don't want to do this. She said, we should try. And I was like, all right, fine. I made that decision the night before I came in, and I was like, all right, we're all doing it. We all signed up that day. And you're like, you were just sitting there minding your own business.
Just, you know, calling some leads and doing what I got to do, trying to find a deal. And AZ says, hey, Sergio, come in. I'm like, okay. You know, and I left out of there.
You didn't even have a bike.
I left out of there with my head down like, oh, shit, what'd I do? But yes, I that was the first challenge right away. I was like, I don't have a bike. Rio, you know, he done the reps himself with the cycling and everything. So he had a bike, and, you know, we struck a deal, and I got my first road bike, and then used that for a good portion of it. Wasn't using it right, you know, for a good chunk of the training as it is. And then I, you know, invested into another bike, a nicer bike.
And all of a sudden you were riding with us. He was always being left behind.
Always.
I think everybody has that story. You know, we talk about, you know, Carla brought up at our Ignite event here at He's and Associates, the real story, you know, where he had to use my wife's pink bike, you know. And he was so far behind, you know, riding at 12, 13 miles an hour. I remember the first time he got 15 miles an hour, he was so elated. And next thing you know, he's leading the pack. And he was also an Ironman triathlete. Yes. And it just feels so good that we all push past our stories, you know, but only an environment and being in a place where you're constantly being pushed will you do those things. Otherwise, you will just, you know, waste yourself into oblivion, where you become 30, 40 pounds overweight. Marriage is not where it needs to be. You know, you're lethargic, not having the energy or the drive. And it's like these challenges push us there. And there was one recently that, you know, there's about 40 people, 42 to be exact, that Carla put together. It's called the Do the Work 30-Day Challenge. And I want to go ahead and put that up there for those of you that are interested. We're opening that up this afternoon, dothework.com. But Sergio, did you signed up for this, and I tell everybody, if you have an opportunity to sign up for something we're doing, I promise you will come out better on the other side. That includes finances, that includes personal fulfillment, that includes happiness, that includes at home. Like, yes, there's a lot of work. It's a painful work. It's a pain in the ass. No, we're not always going to have the time, but you start making up time. But more than anything, we call this the detox phase, because we start really shattering the lies and the stories we've been telling ourselves and detoxifying ourselves from the poison we've been feeding ourselves. 100%. And the results are simply amazing. Like the fat is shedding off our bodies. The fat in our minds is shedding. You know, we start seeing awareness and the possibilities of something greater. Was it what you expected, man, when you first signed up?
Not at all. I mean, you know, I expected to you know, maybe lose a couple pounds.
Dude, you're looking like
that,
lean and mean, bro.
Thank you. But you know, I had the
way that you don't have to start flexing your backs and stuff, man. Put that back.
The way that Carla explained it from day one resonated with me from the jump. You know, basically, you guys all have a shitty relationship with food. Yeah. You're not going to like it. You're going to, you know, dispose of everything that you consider food now that you're putting into your body that is keeping you fat, keeping you lethargic, keeping you, you know, whatever it is that you're feeling, bloated. And, you know, today, day 25, dude. and I shared this with you, that everything that I was putting into my body was not even food. They're products. They are, created by these big corporations that are, chemically enhanced and created in a laboratory. They're not real cookies. They're not real veggie chips. They're not a real healthier alternative because of everything that they're using inside of it. Whereas now we're basically eating whole food I told Carla, we're eating from God's hands. Wow. It's nothing nothing that man makes. We pick it, process it ourselves, but not in a way that is in a laboratory. And I've realized that the more I got that poison out of my body and away from it further, the ability to say no has really, just that in itself has been able to help me a lot with food. I can say no to things, in business, in life now, because I've been a yes man with food specifically. So, yes, I've lost weight. I didn't know that I had abs under my, under my
poking through.
Body
It's
fat.
like, it's like knocking right there,
dude.
On your
I've
belly.
been able to lift weight that I haven't done before, and it feels incredible. I feel this ravenous, savage feeling, but calm with it, and not anxious or anything that I believe the sugar and processed food gave me. So all of that's gone.
You actually inspired our last Mindset Mastery conversation where we talked about the boredom and the fat, right? Talk to us a little bit about,
Yes.
the mindset and our conversation.
100%. So it's essentially the analogy of cutting fat, which, was the processed food and the sugar and shit that I'm addicted to, or was addicted to. I gave myself permission to be a grazer my whole life, like some of us, coin ourselves to be. But sooner I started to realize and get further away from the poison and the food, I started to realize the poison, the procrastination, the unnecessary actions I was taking throughout my day, at home, in my business, and other areas that I needed to, tighten up a little bit by just cutting out certain things in my diet. So I use the analogy of cutting the fat off of my body, because it's literally like we're able now to just cut, take a knife and just cut that all off.
Kind of like those Brazilian grills where they're like, it's literal.
Yeah. Do it literally. Mm-hmm. And now I'm doing that with certain aspects of my life, in my business, which for me were forms of procrastination, and just eating when I was bored. I just realized I was eating when I had nothing else to do, just to try to find some kind of distraction.
And you relate that to your business. Like you said, I realized like the distraction was the procrastination. The distractions, social media and the politics of it and all this other stuff. It's like you started shedding all that. You're like, if I'm doing this with my body, am I doing this with my business? And you saw that correlation.
Right.
And this has been something that, the few weeks that we've been here, a work in progress. And like I said, you had a killer week last week. You got so much momentum going because you're more focused, more intentional, more energetic, more like almost revived through the process, that that there's a lot of fat that was in your life, emotional, mental, physical, and you've been shedding that, and everything's just moving at a higher place. Like the clarity, the focus, the intention is all there. And that surprised the heck out of me. I mean, it was an eye opener for me, and I've seen Carla live this type of lifestyle for years, and I've kind of deviated from there. I got an excuse. Well, I'm doing, the Ironman training. I'm burning all these calories. So over the last 6 to 8 months, I've allowed myself to do things that I wasn't doing for years before that.
Right.
But I forgot. All of a sudden, I conveniently forgot because it was so tasty. I found myself going to Chick-fil-A after my daughter's volleyball with them. I was hoping that they would ask for Chick-fil-A so I can grab a sandwich. It's like, well, it's kind of healthy. No, it is not. Yeah. Right? Processed chicken, fried chicken, whatever it is, the bread. It's like, I was doing that 2 or 3 nights, times a week. And it's like, okay, that's compelling. That's why I have this layer now. And
the flat tire.
And it really affects your confidence, your certainty, knowing that you're leaving a lot on the table. And I know one of the challenges Carla put out there to us, she looked us straight in the eye, and she says, "You don't have the willpower."
I was front row.
Yeah.
You gave me the chills.
She said, you don't have the willpower, prove me wrong. She's like, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to make some changes in your life. And if you're not serious, just let me know now.
Yeah.
I'll give you your money back because it's not about that, right? And it's been amazing. Describe the intensity. Like you felt like there was this one meeting where she had us through a roller coaster in 30 seconds, man. Yeah. Laughing, crying.
I mean, I come out of those weekly meetings that we have, which is essentially Carla reminding us, that it's not easy, it's not hard. There is some tough work that is required. But I always leave those meetings with something. And if anything, I'm sweating because she just fires you up. She's screaming in there because she's so passionate. Mm-hmm. She's so passionate about it because she knows herself by, doing way more reps than any of us in that room have done. And she's able to come from a source of knowing that, look, you guys are just getting started. You got to stick to it. And the most thing I get from that is just to keep going and don't get complacent. You mentioned I conveniently forgot, to start eating good, and the convenience of Chick-fil-A, fast food, all of these other healthy alternative restaurants that are really not. Those start to become,
commonplace.
Yeah, commonplace. And Chick-fil-A sounds good right now.
Oh, it does. But I know what sounds even better, like seeing abs in the mirror.
Every time I think of something, I do. I either check the mirror or I check the app that we're able to use and kind of track everything. Mm-hmm. I look at my before and after pictures and how I've essentially,
dude, you've got into a V.
I didn't know that I could be a shape other than round, and so now it's like I feel like I'm sculpting. Yeah. I'm sculpting this one vessel that we're given, and we do everything possible to try to slow it down instead of, fuel it right and build it up. I feel like a Ferrari today. Yeah. And I was fueling it with unleaded fuel before instead of the racing fuel that a Ferrari deserved to be fueled with. Yeah. And that's another thing I'm getting from it is Carla's just giving us the nutrition that's necessary for the body to operate optimally.
Yes, it's an optimal life, and it's amazing. Like the revelations I've gotten from it, the certainty, the confidence. And I'm posting more photos of me with no shirt. Not to say that I've arrived by any point, but it's just I realize that to feel good, it comes on the back of hard work. Yes. And we say things around here all the time. It feels so good. It feels so good. But goddamn, it's so hard to get there. Man, holy shit! It's like so much work.
Yes. Yeah, and that's where I failed in the past. Was it does take work. You can't give up, man. You can't give up on yourself. Most importantly, I made that commitment to not have a plan B anymore, and just this is it. And I will die trying to make sure I find, the best version of myself. And like I mentioned, that little mustard seed of greatness that's implanted inside of all of us. At our creation, it's our duty to find that and to expose it and share it with the world. Yes. So that's what I'm after.
I absolutely love it, man. And it's been a game changer. I've stuck to it. I'm regimented about it, and I'm seeing the results, and I'm seeing everybody else's results, and it's simply amazing. Yes. The community that she has built within that, amazing. And there is going to be another 30-day challenge coming up, and it's opening up this afternoon. So if you're interested, get on our waiting list. And you'll be the first to know. That's dothework.com, and it's a 30-day challenge. There's going to be a phase 2 for those that already did phase 1, and it's different because we do have an app that tells us what to do and when to do it. We have a simple nutrition plan of what to eat and when to eat, and those are the things that confuse most people. There's so much noise out there, right? So much noise out there. Like people are saying, "Oh, eat this protein bar." They don't realize that's a chemically enhanced product.
100%.
Like, eat the natural foods that'll keep you, like, my recovery is insane.
I feel like Wolverine, man. Yeah, I really do. I was like,
you're looking like Wolverine.
Did I hit chest yesterday or not? Were those hundreds I was putting up? Because I don't feel
You're looking like that phenom, that YouTube phenom, little Hercules from back in the days.
I love it. I'll take it. I feel like it, man. I feel, more strong physically than I have. But more importantly, man, mentally is again, I've been blessed with physical strength, but I think mental strength is something that you have to work on. Mm-hmm. The mind is a muscle as much as your body is. And if you're not working it out, it's going to gain that fat. You're going to lose the strength in it. and it'll flail.
Yeah, I know we got some people commenting here. Michael, another dude, man, this young kid, our title rep for Landmark Exclusive. Dude, that dude's going through a transformation too.
Yeah,
he came
man.
from an injury. He was getting a little heavy. You were getting a little heavy around the cheeks there, buddy. And he's slimming down. He's you know,
looking
showing,
amazing.
yeah, looking awesome. Great genetics, and he's gonna get leaned out. Thank you for sharing. My brother Sergio is a beast. We got Frank Martin Jr. The dude's a beast. He's a phenom as well. One of our agents here. What's up, my brother? We got Jason Smith. Sergio, you killing it. You're beasting out, brother. And
What's up, Jason?
amazing, right? We got David Fuller. What's going on, my brother? Raj, great conversation. And these are the type of conversations we have on a daily. You know, and I want to bring it back to you know, badassagents.com and Asian Associates, and the kind of environment that we're inviting you to join. You know, we're never going to be the company that goes out and cold calls you. You got to find us. That's the only way we do it. And you'll meet with myself and Carla personally. We almost like the people that want to get to know you. You know, and if you're okay being in a place where, you know, no one follows up, there's no accountability, then be there. There's a lot of people that thrive under those circumstances. But if you want to be part of accountability and continuing to challenge yourself to be better, then this is the environment you want to come to. So it's this invitation to go to badassagents.com, click on the apply button, and I will personally reach out to you. And again, you're never going to get a cold call from me. You're never going to get something that it tells you that you should join and give you a song and dance. I'm going to speak truths, and I'm going to paint a picture of what the truth is. And sometimes it's not a nice one, but it can get there. But I think we all need that community, the accountability to really move forward. What would you say to that individual, to that agent that's kind of sitting on the fence, has been watching us for years, maybe 7 months or so? And what I found that the average agent that comes here, like, consumes our content for about 13 months before they decide to join. So I'm glad you cut that time in half before you decided to join. But what would you tell those agents that are seriously considering, even if they're in a place where they think they need to be or are actually at, whether it's a producer or non-producer, like, what would you tell those individuals?
Well, I've never seen Star Wars before, but I hear there's a saying from the Yoda, do or do not, there is no try. So you can attempt all you want to find, you know, some new marketing tool, some new lead generation tactic, some, you know, big box brokerage that's promising you the world. But unless you are surrounded by individuals who are looking for the same thing that you are, who are wanting to achieve that level of greatness that you know is inside of you, then, you know, you need to meet with somebody. Like I said, I was a little intimidated by Carla and AZ. So if it's speaking to myself or another agent in this office, everybody here will welcome you with open arms, open mind, and very transparent with their story. So if there's one thing I could say is just stop thinking about it, because you will talk your way out of it instead of just doing what you know is the right thing to do. And that's put yourself in a position to elevate the standards in your life, not just business, but in all aspects of your life.
And I truly say this with all my heart because I believe it. I think it's you know, entering the doors of Asian Associates is a defining moment. It's not because what I'm doing. It's not because what Carla's doing. It's what we do collectively as a group. It's a defining moment where you're like, my life shifted here. And that's how powerful I think it is, because I remember when I met with my coaches and my mentors, and I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars getting to this place, trying to dig myself out of pain. I was okay putting that out there, but that was a defining moment for me. And when you're in an environment that, again, will push you to what you thought were your limitations, and then beyond that, it's simply an amazing life. And it becomes one of those moments that shapes your personality and shapes your life. And I say, hey, it's a big promise to put out there, but I haven't been proven wrong, is that this will radically shift your life. And again, it's not what I'm doing. It's not what Carla's doing. It's what we do collectively as a group here to really get to that next level. And it affects so much beyond, you know, just our current life. It's generational. And I'm proud to say that. And if you've been looking at us, if you've been interested in making a move, like, you can go and follow hype, or you can go and follow and race to the bottom and be within, you know, a place where you're not necessarily follow up with, and that's okay. But if this resonates with you, go to badassagents.com, fill out the application. I will personally call you, and we'll set up an appointment. And odds are, if you're feeling it, this is the place for you. But I appreciate you saying that, man. And let's talk about you a little bit here. Sure. About your business. What can your clients expect from you, Sergio? Like I've seen you. I know what they can expect. How would you describe what your clients can expect from you?
I would expect persistence and consistency. I definitely keep a huge line of communication open as well. One of the biggest complaints we get in our industry is communication. We don't answer our phone. We don't text back. We don't email back. And again, just knowing what I know now, it's just that posturing of thinking that I don't have to answer my phone or whatever it is. That's just the experience that I had. But you can expect me to find a solution that is outside of the box should we run into a scenario that calls for such. But experience, and I think in our business, AZ, we need to have a little bit of compassion and empathy for individuals because we're selling a product that's hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it causes all kinds of emotional roller coasters. And to be able to be that voice of reason, be able to be that, that trusting person that they need to be able to move into this, to get into this debt, to buy this property in order to create something brand new. I don't think there's anybody better to do that for you than me. And I personally think that being able to deliver that to families thus far just gives me, the confidence to be able to do that for as many as possible out there. So those are just a few things you can expect.
Yeah, I think you explained that to the T. I mean, I think there's no one better, and we all have to think that way, right? Especially when you put in all the work. How could you fall short for them when you're not falling short for yourself? You're a byproduct of the work, right? And when we focus so much on improving ourselves, it's only going to bleed into improving others and people's situation. And we have a great responsibility in helping families build wealth, whether through buying or selling. They're building wealth, right? And the experience that comes with it. And I think you explained it beautifully. And what are you most excited about 2021?
My goals, it's up there for me, at least for what I've done thus far. I'm excited for my goal and to be able to hit it, and be in the top 20 this year, 2021. I'm excited now more than ever, physically, just to continue with this 30-day challenge to see what I can really do with my body. How I can get it to look,
Yeah, it feels good, right?
Yes, it feels incredible. How much stronger I can get. Yeah. And what further limitations I can silence and capacity I can build because all of the stories that got me here today have essentially been silenced in one way or another, whether it's through Ironman, whether it's through, other forms of working out. So now it's just increasing that even more to become even more unfamiliar with who I am going to be 2-3 years from now.
I love it. Beautifully stated. And if you're in the market to buy or sell or just need to talk about real estate or in general, I mean, you can reach out to Sergio directly. You can follow him. I would highly encourage you to follow him on Facebook and Instagram. He's the kind of guy that's always learning from life lessons and then, being able to beautifully and poetically almost be able to dissect whatever situation is and get a lesson from it. So if you're not following him, look out for him, reach out to him. And again, Sergio, I want to thank you for being here, man. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm enlightened. This is a feel good podcast, man, and it's based on the real pain of paradise, and the work. Nothing's ever promised. It's what we decide to put into it. And again, if you're an agent here in Arizona and are looking to make a move, go to badassagents.com. But we do have another thing that I'm going to invite you to, which is our Do the Work 30-day challenge. Whether you're with the brokerage or not, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, if you're tired of feeling sick and tired, then this is where you have to join. You'll see the results. We're having massive results, 12, 15, 18, 20 pounds loss, muscle being built, confidence being built, and it's an amazing process. It's not a fly-by-night product. It is something that's taken Carly years of research and putting her own body and her own mindset through it. And I think you would benefit greatly. So if you're looking to get into that summer body and with your family, trying to live a healthier lifestyle, go to dothework.com, and we will be opening that up this afternoon. But at the very minimum, put your name on that waiting list. Sergio, again, thank you. I want to thank you for joining us in this episode of Badass Agents Podcast. If you missed it, you can always rewatch it here on my Facebook page, but go to badassagents.com on your favorite podcast provider. Look up Badass Agents on your favorite podcast provider and make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you again for joining us, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by AZ & Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.